Welcome to Strength Roots Podcast, presented by Hyperthrive Athletics, where we dissect the mindsets, stories, habits, and tactics of elite performers. Strength Roots Podcast, the growth starts here.
Welcome to another episode of the Strength Roots Podcast. We are in Huntington Beach, California, with Randall Pich, the founder and CEO of LiveFit and many other companies.
Yep.
I think, the craziest part about you, and I, listened to a ton of podcasts with you on it, and your story's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think what we've seen with dealing with elite performers and people like yourself, this struggle kind of shaped, who you are today and where you sit today.
Right.
So, I know you've told your story so many times, and it probably gets monotonous, but, for our listeners to just hear a little bit about, where you came from, how you grew up, and then kind of where it's led you to today.
Yeah. So, that's a lot. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Because obviously a lot of my life experience is attributed to where I'm at today. Right. But I guess we could start, where I was born and raised. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California, first generation. So my parents came from Cambodia right after the Vietnam War. Well, not right after. After the Vietnam War, they stayed in Cambodia and survived the genocide, the Khmer genocide. So that's the most recent, I'd say, genocide. They lived, I think, 4 or 5 years in the communist regime. She had to wear, I'm not talking about my mom, she had to wear like all black, had her hair cut like a certain way. And this is really, really recent, and this is the reason why Angelina Jolie has been like pushing the Cambodian culture, because her son Maddox that she adopted is from Cambodia. And it's still like affected like the country right now. But for those who don't know about the genocide or the Khmer Rouge, after the Vietnam War, the Americans didn't win. They just left back home. So the communist regime took that over, which spread down to Cambodia. And then from there, the ideology of Pol Pot, which was the dictator in Cambodia, was different from the rest of the communist countries. He wanted to dummy down the whole country. So if you were educated, like a doctor, and like a Muay Thai instructor or whoever, like an elite, you get killed off right away. So she lived through that, eating only one time a day type of life, to finally fleeing Cambodia and then going through the camp to Thailand and then making it over here to America. And then I was born, I would say like 10 years later. So amazing. Yeah. And then that's why there's a lot of Cambodians in Long Beach, because of the war. A lot of the Cambodians just migrated there. So with that being said, I grew up in Long Beach, California, with a lot of other Cambodians, and we were first generation, so we didn't have much. I grew up with not knowing the difference between food stamps and dollar bills. That was back when we had the actual paper instead of the card, right? So I remember my mom just telling me, all right, here's this, use this for food, and here's this, use this for whatever else you need every single day. And I didn't know until later that, oh shit, these other kids don't have it, So that's just like the really kind of young experience that I've had. And then I found skateboarding. Long Beach is also like a really multicultural city. So I got to meet, or grew up skateboarding, and then with that, got to meet a lot of kids with different upbringings, different backgrounds, poor, rich, regular, it doesn't matter, everyone that likes skateboarding. So I was exposed to that, and I kept skateboarding. And that was the thing that kind of made, I guess, my path of life more, I want to say, because a lot of, you either skateboard or you gangbang. Let's just put it that way, So I found skateboarding, and a lot of my other friends didn't. Unfortunately, one of my other friends I just grew up with, he got shot the other day. He's dead now. So like that's the type of, it was like last week. So he's a kid I grew up with. He's dead now. And then I have other friends, and like their siblings or friends, people just get murdered every day. It's crazy, and you don't hear about it on the news, Right. And that's just the kind of the reality that I grew up with. Like I used to skateboard and know not to just walk to this block, you know?
Yeah.
And as a kid, I just knew that it was so normal. Like, you didn't even speak about it. But now that I tell people, everyone's like, dude, that's a trip, you know? So.
What do you think kept you from not going down that route?
Skateboarding, dude. I was like getting really good at it.
Yeah.
So I have that addictive personality. So I guess that is a characteristic of something that led me to where I'm at today, too. It's just if I start something, I want to be the best at it, you know?
Yeah.
So I started skating. I was getting good. And, you know, I was like, that was my dream. I want to be a pro skater. So.
Was your mom pretty open with you about her journey and her experience? Because I know some parents would take the route of like sheltering their kid from that struggle, right? Was she like that, or was she kind of open and let you know exactly what she went through?
You know, it's funny. Any Cambodian, or a lot of Cambodian kids can speak for me too, and can agree. A lot of the parents didn't bring it up at all.
Yeah.
They wanted to just hide it, you know? I had to get it out of her. I had to like learn about it myself.
Yeah.
They wanted to just leave it behind because it was pretty brutal, you know? Like I had my grandma tell me stories. She's seen people just get like executed, decapitated heads, and just, you know, like that. And my mom, same thing. She's seen all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. So I think their intentions was, okay, we got a new life. Let's just get these kids off to their feet, and then not bring the bad stuff up. You know,
That's amazing, especially because I feel like so often you hear you're a product of your environment, and like for you to make it through that, like people. I mean, I grew up in Palo Alto, and East Palo Alto is right across the train tracks, and like people, you know, it's much better now with Facebook being there, but it was known like. Guys, people don't make it out of East Palo Alto.
Yeah,
and then you have those guys like Devontae Adams who like goes and plays for the Packers. I mean, there's so many other guys, but it's just like I think it's like a testament to you and like why you're here.
Yeah, and a lot of people from Long Beach too. Like look at Long Beach Poly; they breed so many pro NFL guys. You know, right out of high school too, and Long Beach State, they got a lot of guys that go to the major leagues after that as well. Like Long Beach is just such a driven city, you know, with guys that, if he can do it, I can do it too, because he's from where I'm from, you know, like Snoop.
Yeah.
Come on, he's like
Straight up.
Yeah.
We got a Long Beach guy on our team, JP Crawford.
Yeah.
He loves the LBC.
Yeah, dude. And that's the one thing about Long Beach. We love Long Beach. Look at my hat.
Yeah, right.
Tattoo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, your tattoos are sick.
Thanks, dude.
Do they tell a story or?
No, I mean they're different parts of my life. I guess. Yeah. Like when I was straight edge. And then, but this is just all artwork here. But I got a lot of things covered up too as well. And
So moving past that, like, you know, you told us a little bit about your childhood and when you started skateboarding. What was high school like? Maybe a transition into, you know, later education. What was that part of your life like?
Yeah. So I like going to school and stuff. Yeah, I wasn't like a bad student. You know, my mom just like pushed me to go to school, take that route. But she was so busy working in the daytime and until late nights. So after school, it was just me and my brother. You know, so we obviously didn't want to just stay home. We wanted to skate and, you know, experience other things. And I think that's what exposed me to like the streets and stuff too. So I learned a lot of like that type of lingo and whatnot. And, you know, doing that kind of stuff, you just learn a lot. Like what do you call it? Like street smart stuff. But through middle school, high school, I got into other hobbies. In high school, like I played drums. I used to be in a hardcore band too. So like I had dreams of being a famous drummer. Never happened, you know. But I pursued that 100%. And with that being said, I did graphic design as well in high school, which taught me the process of silk screening and how to make a T-shirt. So with that, I applied that with the band. So I was in charge of making merchandise. I was like, okay, we're gonna make some T-shirts and sell them at our shows. So that's kind of the start of where I learned the whole T-shirt printing business. Subconsciously, it wasn't like my purpose. I just had to do it because I knew where to go to LA to get the shirts for wholesale, come back over here, silk screen it myself. So that's kind of like I guess where it started as far as clothing wise.
But even so, design or art has always kind of been a part of your life, right? So, I mean, a lot of people consider skateboarding an artistic expression in itself, right? And then you went into music and then graphic design. So do you feel like you've always just been drawn towards that creative side of things? And that's almost, did you feel like that was a calling for you, or was it more just a hobby that turned into something that could be a career?
I think it was just a hobby. Like, it was something that I found fun, and I could just literally zone out for hours, and I wouldn't even know, like, if the sun went down or it was up. If I was in a closed room, you know, I'll just hammer out designs or drawings, like literally draw too. Like, I used to try to tattoo a few peeps, but in my time, I don't like to talk about it. I kind of ruin people's skin. But yeah, I've always been like creative, you know. So.
And then when did that become something that you knew you were passionate about and wanted to turn it into a business, or, you know, take it to the next level?
Right. So obviously the dreams of becoming a rock star didn't fall through, but it did teach me a lot. So I mean, you can't throw away that knowledge, right? So later in high school, so my sophomore year was the year I took the graphic design class and really got in deep with designing. And then my late junior year and senior year, I got into bodybuilding, and that's when I started getting into the fitness field, and then finding about the department of kinesiology and personal training, and finding out, hey, I can make a living out of this. So that's what I started to pursue. So I graduated high school, and then I went to Long Beach State for 5 or 6 years, studied kinesiology, and I got hired on as a trainer at a corporate gym right after high school. So I was a trainer pretty much alongside my whole college career. But in that time, that's when everything blew up, and that's the reason why I did not finish college and went straight to expanding the businesses.
So, and have you, like, before you started the Live Fit brand, did you have other brands that you tried to start, or businesses that might have not come to fruition?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot. Even in high school too, as I was playing drums in a band, I wanted to start a clothing line, so I did. It was called Ruckus, and we sponsored other bands and stuff too, including my own band and stuff. Just because it wasn't, the sole purpose wasn't to make money. It was just so me and my homies could rock a cool design that I made, you know? And that's like that's the like authenticity of it, you know? And I think that's what people like with Live Fit. It was just so organic when it grew. You know, the sole purpose wasn't just for money. It was to like help people, you know, live a better lifestyle. So I had this clothing line in high school and never popped off. Scrapped that, right? So I started personal training, like I said, and then I got hired at Bally's Fitness. I didn't mention that yet prior. So then they got bought out by LA Fitness, right? And then I got laid off, and they wanted to rehire me for like less than half the pay. I was like, no, I'm gonna go private. So then by this time, I had a lot of clients ready. I took all my clients with me, went to a private gym, pretty much like a gym that I rent out that I could just kind of run my own business. I did that, and that's when I decided to, hey, why not make shirts for my clients? I know how to design. I think it'll look cool. Let's do it. So that's when I put Live Fit on a shirt. It was just a slogan for my personal training business, which is RP Fitness. So I designed the shirt, and then one thing led to another. People started rocking it. I remember making a video of this boot camp, or just me training my clients with the shirts, and I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't care for marketing or whatever. I just, dude, it's cool, you know, for me. But since my clients felt like, damn, this video is tight, like I want to repost it too. This was only when Facebook was out. So then they started doing it, and you know, when they're like sweating it out, you know, working hard, showing their peers that, you know, they're dedicated to this thing and changing their lives. It's like a positive thing. It makes more of an impact. So that was like a really good marketing platform for me, and it just went viral from there. Like, other people were like, hey, how can I get that shirt? I know I'm not near you, but can I buy one? I'm like, sure, you know. So that's where it all started.
Yeah. So you talked about, like, early on, your shirt designing was basically just something for you guys, you and your boys to rock.
Yep.
And just stuff that you really liked. So, like, how much now the designs that you guys do here at Live Fit, is it just like stuff that you would want to rock, or how much like consumer feedback do you get, and like how much outside influence do you have as far as your designs go?
Yeah, It's funny you say that. I think just recently, maybe about like a year ago, I started to cater to the mass market now, just because it's so corporate now. I mean, I hate to say that, but now we got to start appealing to not just myself, but like the athletes, customer base and whatnot. But before that, it was literally just whatever I rocked, that's what's coming out. If not, whatever.
And then kind of along those same lines, like obviously it's a pretty competitive market that you're in with, you know, clothing and that type of thing. So like how much are you observing what other companies are doing as far as like their brand strategy, what they're doing as far as designs and stuff? Like, are you even looking at that, or are you just completely in your own lane, not even focused on it?
Yeah, I'm in my own lane. I get that question a lot, and I don't know what other brands are doing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing what works for me, and that just keeps me focused, you know?
That's good, because it seems like, and it's not really even in the clothing industry, anything, like with our, you know, fitness business, you look at content online, and it's just, a lot of it's just copycat. They're looking at what other people are doing and you know, kind of replicating it.
Yeah.
But it seems like the best companies in every industry aren't focused on what other people are doing. It's just they're in their own lane and they're, you know, doing their thing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a hinder. Because I've heard of other like business gurus or whatever say you should check out the competition, but I think that's a big mistake, because it's just going to put stuff in your head that's going to make you doubt yourself. And things don't work out for different peeps because of all kinds of factors, you know, like of where they're at, or the location, you know what I'm saying? So like a business may work for this person, but it may not work for that person, just solely because of the environment that they're in and whatnot. So if it's working for you, that's all I always say. If it works, keep on doing it. You know, who cares what other people think or say? Yeah. You know.
And then with like assessing stuff that works. So obviously you've had some brands that didn't go well, that you had to step back from and you know, redirect your route. So how do you assess like when something might not be working? Because a lot of people are like, chase your dream, like if you're passionate about it, but they might be chasing, you know, going down that path, but it's something that's not going to work long term. You might have to pivot. So how do you assess when to pivot, or when to just completely do something different?
Right. Yeah. Like prioritize and whatnot. I mean, you just got to like check yourself where you're at in life and kind of see if the data shows that you should keep pushing this, you know? Like the only reason why I really pursued Fit Apparel and shut down my personal training business was because of the numbers, was overpowering my numbers from personal training, like by far, and the requirement of my physical self to like do all the labor was outweighing PT, you know? So I was like, hey, to all my clients, you know what? I got to do this. This is like, this wave is going up, blah, blah, and I know what I'm doing. This is my dream. Because, you know, when you talk to your clients, you get really close with them. So we've been talking for a long time, like, you know, this clothing line's popping off. I don't think I'm going to be able to train you very soon, you know? So, but yeah, they all understood. And then I just went full on with the business and finally be able to put 100% in. And that's when things just went like that. But I always look for a track record first. You know, I always spread myself thin until I can't, like, I don't just, like, if people buy the shirt, cool, but it has to be proven, like, I'm going to sell out, you know? Because that way I don't go into debt.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's on the last podcast we recorded, we were talking to Danielle Martin, she does a lot of different things, but she works with a lot of high-level athletes as far as, like, mental skills and stuff. But she talked about intuition. So I think it's kind of, you know, obviously looking at the data, making stuff work, but honing into your intuition and knowing if that's like something that you should consider pursuing or, you know, going down that path. So,
and I think like a common theme I'm hearing in your story is like you're pursuing one goal and it leads down a route you didn't know you were going to take. And instead of you like fighting against that, you just kind of go with it, pivot, like Aaron was saying. And I think so many people, they have like this clear vision of where they want to go, but they're not seeing the signs that, hey, maybe you just need to take a little turn this way, right? And so I think you've done a really great job of maybe like you probably didn't feel all that prepared every time you had to pivot, but instead of like second guessing it, you just went all in.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think like the entrepreneurs that make stuff happen think like that. Like we have a goal, obviously, but we go into that goal with open eyes, an open mind, you know, like anything can come and lead to something else. Like, I don't know what lift it's leading me to, you know? Like, it's just, things can just always expand. And I've realized that with, obviously, with the brands that I have now and the companies I've made, it's just because of what Lift Fit has led me to, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm always keeping the doors open, options open.
So going from just you, like, obviously it was just you at the start, like no team, and then you probably slowly add in some friends, and then, you know, it grew from there. So, you know, a lot of people talk about culture within companies and organizations. How is culture for you something that just organically happens after you kind of set the standard, or how do you consistently keep working on building the right culture when new people come into the company?
That's something that we've all learned, you know, and it's still like a learning curve, because obviously you want to have fun, and at the same time, when the business really scales and expands, you have to run a tight ship, you know. So we've been in situations where I've had to let go of really, really close friends, you know, and it sucks, but it's kind of like, well, if they really understood, then they would get their act together, you know, because if I'm growing as a CEO, I expect the other people that I've hired as friends to expand and gain more knowledge in their department, you know. So it's just like a balance you got to find, and if you're going to be a CEO or be a leader, you know, because some people could just own a company and hire a manager, but if you want to like lead and do all that stuff, you got to like really, you know how to manage people and deal with personalities and not think irrationally, you know, not think with your emotions. You got to really pull that out of the picture. I think that plays a big role.
And then, you know, with the way you spend your time now with where your company's at, because at first it was probably mostly all creative,
right,
and you know, strategic stuff. So is your time now mostly spent on leadership? Like, how do you divvy up your time between the creative, running the company, leading people?
It's still a little bit of both, you know. Like, I spend a lot of time being creative. That's actually most of my time being creative. But then now with 2020 rolling in, I had like a meeting with all our athletes and ambassadors, like via Skype and stuff, and just coming up with a game plan and of me being more involved, because I realized last year I was lacking that, you know, because I was just so busy with, I mean, there's other things that I have to do. I gotta, you know, oversee every department, the management, everything that goes back in here. So then our marketing team, which is like the athletes and ambassadors, they feel kind of left out. So I realized that, okay, now I've fixed whatever I needed to fix in these departments. Now let me give some time to the athletes and ambassadors and come up with like strategic strategies to post on social, to what kind of campaigns we're going to do, things like that, you know. It's just kind of like, again, balancing. Yeah.
And then, you know, you kind of talked about setting new goals, or kind of, you know, doing stuff different going into the new year. Is that something where you kind of step away and take time to reflect and look at the wins and the losses? Is that, you know, mentors that you have in your life that, you know, kind of help you evaluate stuff? Like, how do you, from a strategic standpoint, like, evaluate stuff?
I think stepping away from the company and going away for a bit kind of clears your head, so you can think without any distractions, like people feeding stuff in your head all the time, you know. But yeah, I would, like, this past I think it was like a couple weeks ago, I went to New York with a business colleague, and I went to go see a couple docs because my lower back's kind of messed up, and one of the doctors is an actual business coach. So it was cool. We just sat down in the room and, you know, we just happened to talk about business, and then I told him about some things that were happening, and he just gave me some advice. So yeah, I do have, I guess, mentors I would hit up, but definitely stepping away from the business and even the problem, if there is a problem at hand, step away, kind of clear your head. Number one, to get the emotions out so you don't make stupid decisions, and then two, to kind of just oversee it. Okay, now let's game plan and you see what we can do when we get back.
And so what is that for you? Like, what's your escape to get clarity?
Now it's like riding my motorcycle, skateboarding, or just taking a little vacation. Just being like doing something that's non-business related, which is hard because we're social media based. But you know, just not so much of the back end stuff.
Yeah, because it seems like when you're in it every day, you're like in the business and working on what you need to work on. Like, you get so caught up in other stuff that you you can't really take a step back and, you know, look at the overview and really
Yeah.
evaluate like where you like the business really needs to go.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm guilty of that for sure. We get caught up, and then there's other bleeding areas, but we're so like, you know, intense in one area.
Yeah.
And so like where we left off on the story is like, you know, Facebook was the only thing, right? So you started when Facebook was just the only thing popping off, right? And then so how did that transition into you taking advantage of social media and like building that brand awareness and really building the brand into exactly what you wanted it to be?
So when people started seeing the shirts on Facebook, they would hit me up, like I was saying, and then I would just re-up on the tees. So I first invested $300 into the first batch of T-shirts, and that's the only investment I've ever done.
That was like
till now.
the first batch?
Yeah, until now.
That's
like no loan, nothing.
Yeah.
So I just kept on slanging the shirts until people out of state started seeing this stuff, and this was still on Facebook. So then I just made a online store, and this was when Big Cartel was around. I don't know if you know that platform. It's like super old. You can only sell like 3 shirts for free online.
That
So
was like the original like Shopify type thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I did that, and then just started shipping a ton of shirts out until that got overwhelming, and then Instagram came out, and then you know, I started with one shirt, and it obviously turned into like 3 or 4 designs and like a pair of shorts and a hat or something, you know. So then it became an actual clothing line. I was like, oh man, this is dope. So when I started getting overwhelmed with like the physical aspect of like shipping, labeling, doing all that stuff, I needed an assistant or something. So I hired my first employee, and then me and the first employee, Chulin, she's she worked at Apple first, so she was my client. She worked at Apple, and I hired her because she was good with numbers and stuff, and I suck at numbers. So we were able to just literally take the clothing line and scale it to the next level, you know, while I was still personal training. So.
Yeah, and then so kind of going along the social media line, staying there.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about like obviously you have brand ambassadors and athletes and stuff. Would you say that's been one of your biggest drivers, is having strategic partnerships and
Yes.
you know, shout outs and that type of thing? And do you think, as far as let's say a brand, it doesn't have to be a clothing company, but you know, even a brick and mortar starting now, is that something that they should look at in 2020?
Yes, I think so. But I think more strategically is the kind of person. So like it doesn't necessarily like the numbers as far as like followers or whatever, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's just the representative of who's going to represent your company has to fit the look and whatnot and speak on the behalf, you know, because I know how to make clothes and whatever and know how to reach a new market. It's now we're looking for people that kind of vibe with us, you know, and then with that, you just create a community, a buzz. People are going to look over, you know, especially locally first, and like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And then it just grows organically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have personally a very large following, right? So, and I think, was it something early on you recognized that I need to brand myself right alongside with my business? Because I think, like, our generation, especially myself, like, when I look at a company and evaluate a company and whether, you know, I want to invest my time or my money into that company, it's like, I want to know who's behind it.
Right.
I want to know who is creating it and what their story is. So was that something you were focusing on early, was telling your story right along with building the brand of the business?
Yeah, it's funny. It wasn't at first. At first, I was like, dude, I'm gonna create this clothing line now. I'm gonna build a team, you know, like a skateboard brand, you know, just be behind the scenes and do all that. But I've noticed with the data, it shows like every time I would post something, it would be or have a lot more of an engagement, you know, because it's more on a personable level, I guess. People can relate directly with me. So even when we were scaling and blowing up, we would still pull data, and every time I would post or do something, the sales would go up, even till this day, which is kind of a curse, though, because it's like, I can't take a break, you know? But, yeah, it's stuck with you. Yeah. So with that, I did recognize that early on and started pushing my personal brand as well on social media and started making, like, more entrepreneurial type of stuff, just because I knew those type of audiences were my followers. The questions they would get is like, how do you start a brand? How do you do this? You know, so
we talked you know, a little bit about where you spend your time, and then we talked about like building a personal brand. It's hard to step away a lot of the times, and I know you know, you're kind of starting a family now. You got a little one at home.
Yep.
So how is that I have an 8-month-old at home, so I'm still figuring out a lot of stuff. My first child. How has that affected the way that you prioritize your time and spend your time in the business? And I guess if there is, early parents out there that are business owners, like how to kind of navigate that.
Mm-hmm. I think because Sarah, my fiance, we've talked prior. We wanted to be in a good place to where if we did have a baby or something, there would be plenty of space and stuff to where the baby can come along, and just hang and whatnot. And I wanted to make sure like my mom was in a good place too, so she could babysit. So all that stuff was set up, and then now my mom babysits sometimes. If Reese needs to come here, she'll come here and just hang out and stuff because we have extra rooms. But I had to make sure those things were laid out first,
Yeah.
so I can see her and whatnot.
Yeah. Because for me, I mean, if I'm 30, about to be 34, but if I was 22, 23 years old, wasn't set up in any way and had a kid, it would have been crazy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because time flies when you run a business, because I hate to say it, but a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners, we don't live in the moment because we have to plan ahead, right? And that sucks. So you think you're living at this time and thinking about what you're doing now, but you're not. You're literally planning for the next event, planning, okay, do we have the financials for this? Just different projects here and there. So what I've done, Sarah and I have done for the past couple of years, even just for us, is when like Christmas comes or like Valentine's Day or whatever, we deck the whole house out and make it super like flamboyant of like just Christmas trees, lights, all this and that, just so we remember it, it forces us to, that was, that's the time of the year. Because there was a point where I was like, dude, Christmas is tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like it's that crazy. So I think just going all out in the celebration of these holidays can really make a difference. It kind of like, it embeds like a memory, because without school, you don't really have that, right?
Yeah.
So.
And do you try to block off time where it's like, all right, today, the only thing I'm focused on is family. I'm not looking at social media. Do you block off time for that?
I try. I'm not going to lie. I try, because if I said I did, Sarah would be like, no, you don't. I try.
Yeah.
Are you good at separate? Because I know like in my line of work, it's like my performance is my livelihood. So, when I go home, sometimes I take it there with me. And it's like I realize like, I'm not doing, like I'm doing my wife a disservice, my parents, whatever. Like, do you feel like you struggle with that sometimes? That if you go home, you take the business home with you and it affects, what kind of dad you are or whatever?
Oh, yeah, it does. I take it home and it sucks. And, it's crazy. Sarah is the CPA or the CFO here. So she deals with directly with the CPA, the accounting. She does all the finances and HR. But we're lucky enough to work in completely different departments to where we don't ever bump heads unless it's like a budgeting thing, where I want to spend X amount on these goods because I think they're going to sell. And she's like, no, we don't have the budget for it. But other than that, I mean, we don't really talk about work, or we try not to. But I don't know, man. I think it's inevitable, because it's just we're the owners. Right. It's kind of hard. Like it's our baby too,
Yeah, it's so ingrained in you.
Yeah,
especially
it pays our bills and everything.
The social media and just, I mean, having to stay relevant there. And
dude, yeah.
You can't work behind the scenes.
Nope, exactly.
So, how do you, as your team grows, like keep do you have a standardized training process or like a way that you ingrain people into the company?
Not really. We kind of just feel them out in the beginning, because since it is social media based, a lot of peeps that come apply and get hired already know about the company, so they kind of know the expectations and whatnot. But the company culture, I mean, we have a pretty relaxed environment. You know, people can just eat and leave and do whatever they want. Not do whatever they want, but you know what I mean. Like there's music always playing, there's dogs running around and stuff.
As long as they get their work done.
As long as they get their work done, like a lot of the guys here are salary work, so they just there's a lot of field work. You don't have to be in the office all the time. You just got to get your stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, I guess kind of, closing out, what, with Live Fit brand and your other brands and personal stuff, you got anything, big projects planned in 2020?
You know what? It's funny because the reason why I started Live Fit Apparel was a branch off my personal training business, right? Mm-hmm. And I haven't personal trained for 7 years now, I think. And I just started getting back into it. Like I did a boot camp yesterday.
Nice.
Because we have the space downstairs. We just built out a gym, and you know, I miss the whole in-person gratitude, you know, because I don't get that anymore. I'm behind a desk, dude. All I get is like, man, your t-shirts are fading or whatever. I'm gonna get a refund. You know what I'm saying? Like, it sucks, dude. And I'm like, man, yeah. So I was like, man, let me get back to what I like doing. So I just started, we did a boot camp yesterday, and I had my athletes who are all trainers as well and stuff, help out and whatnot. So going through this year, we're going to start doing more events here in the warehouse, more boot camps, more private training, small groups.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm going to be working more in the expansion of that route, you know, that field of fitness.
Well, it kind of goes back to the origin story of Live Fit, right?
Exactly.
Like, you didn't even expect that to be the name brand. Like, that was a slogan for your clients, right?
Yeah.
So that was like the standard you were trying to set for your clients was Live Fit, like live your entire life that way. Yep. And so now it's almost like it's coming for full circle where we're getting back to exactly what started the business in the first place.
Yep, full circle. It's funny, man, one of the head trainer, manager, Thomas, like, I have him as a personal trainer. I never in a million years thought I would need a personal trainer because I used to, you know, but it's because I want him to hold me accountable for the time and like make sure I get my workout in. Yeah. And dude, you guys are, you know, you train and stuff. You never think like that. I'm like, man, I don't need no trainer. You know, I know what I'm doing, but dude, it gets crazy when you get just to a certain level. Like, dude, I don't want to work out, and you know, so
that accountability piece is huge. Like, even, you know, obviously having a baby and stuff, like, time is spread pretty thin, and so. Even me, like, I, you know, got off my, you know, path of staying in the gym and stuff. So, like, within the last few months, like, I basically hired a coach that we trust in the area just so that at 5:30 a.m. when I go to the gym at 6 and it's cold outside and I want to sleep in, like, normally I would just sleep in if it was me going to the gym. But now that, you know, he holds me accountable.
Yep, you have to go.
Gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, obviously, like, you have a ton of success through your brand now, right? And I heard one quote. It was Nick Saban was on a documentary and he said it. And it was, when you climb the mountain, you become the mountain, right? And so now you have so many people, so many other companies that are like basically chasing you at this point, right? A lot of them. So, and now your motivators are so much different than when you started, right? So how has your motivation shifted, and like what truly motivates you to keep grinding every day, like come in here and work hard every single day? Because obviously it's a little bit different as we grow and as our story changes. So how has that kind of evolved over the lifetime of the brand?
Right. I mean, now I'm like 7 years into this business, and like for a clothing line, that's pretty long. Yeah. I think the average lifespan for a clothing brand to be successful at a certain level is like 5 years. But like you said, climbing the mountain, I think I've been around experienced every single thing business-wise. I don't want to say every single thing, but like a lot of the hard stuff that comes along the ways, like the laws and the dealing with lawyers and just these other things, you know, that comes at like a left hook at you, you know. Yeah. I've experienced all that stuff, so it kind of pulled me away from the business. When I first started to scale, I wanted to just scale, build this big team and this company, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized like my focus was getting away from the heart of the clothing brand or the mission. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. So now I'm just going back to, you know what, I'm going to go and do what made me happy in the beginning and what I'm passionate about, which is designing and training people, you know, and if I have all the other stuff that I've already built, it's just going to fall into place. It's easier, you know.
Which ultimately will make the business grow even more.
Exactly, yeah.
Once you get back to the heart of it.
Yep.
Do you ever just step back and go, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe it's grown like this?
Only times when I do podcasts or when people ask me. Yeah, because other than that, dude, we're just going. Right. You know, the only time I can think is just exactly like right now when you guys ask.
Yeah, it's crazy because they always tell us, like, keep your head down and, like, look up at the end. And then you, like, you know, make it to the big leagues. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, it was 50,000 in the stadium. Like, I was playing in front of 2,000 2 weeks ago. So
it only goes up, too.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, last question. If you had to prescribe one habit for the whole world to do for 30 days, what would it be?
One habit?
Yeah.
For 30 days?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tough one.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a habit in a certain sense. It's like if you could just get anybody to do anything for 30 days.
It could be wear your shirt.
Let me see. Just for the world, huh? I don't even know. It's gonna sound dumb, but like, think before you speak. You know,
I don't think
like
that's dumb at all.
Good.
think
Yeah.
before you speak. In the day of social media, think before you post a comment.
Yeah.
Think. Use your
Straight
brain.
up.
Seriously.
Here.
Some people definitely don't think, that's for sure.
Sweet. So, as far as going forward, if people want to find out more, like, what are all the brands that you got? Where can they find you on social media?
As far as brand wise, livefitapparel.com. Obviously, that's the main one. And then I have topthreadsinc.com, which is my more streetwear brand. And then the custom printing business is skylabprints.com. But you can go on my personal website, which is randall-pich.com. You can find the other stuff on there too. I have another brand called Gold English, which is I'm partnered with my buddy that's a tattoo artist that just won Ink Master last season.
Nice.
And then, you'll find a lot of info on the randall-pich.com.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, think before you speak. Thanks for listening to this episode of Strength Roots Podcast. We'll catch you next time.